Here and now, what is your experience of yourself? Notice the moment I say yourself or the experience of yourself, you automatically think body. You automatically are imagining your personal self. I want you to go a little subtler, a little deeper. Your direct experience of yourself, something you even call yourself. I may call you by your name, but you call yourself as what? What is your direct experience of me? It is exactly that, right? Me, I. Your direct experience of yourself before the body, before the thoughts, the preferences, the sadness, the anger, is I, me. Now, right? Your experience is always now, here. Don't instantly accept this. Just see in your experience. And perhaps if you really don't understand this, then you must test it out. See if your experience, your direct experience of yourself, is ever anything other than I, now, here. You can go from here to China, from China to Australia, from Australia to the United States. You ultimately, your experience will still be here. The stuff inside of your here and now and I will change, will differ greatly, but your direct experience of life, of self, will be I, here, now. So your experience of the the seer, the self, me, is always constant, changeless. Whereas your experience of the seen, that which is seen, observed. Now look at that which is being seen right now. Currently, your experience is whatever room you're sitting in. Right now, perhaps you're looking at me on a screen. There's a certain number of thoughts that are going on in your head that are unique to right now. Your body feels a certain way. Your body looks a certain way. What else are you seeing? Not just through the eyes, right? Because there's plenty that cannot be seen through the eyes, which is being observed, like your preferences, your likes, dislikes, your fears, even. All that subtle stuff. Is it not being observed, noticed, seen? So your experience of the seen is always changeful. Whatever is seen is always changing, always differing in quality, shape, form, size, the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it sounds, the way it tastes. The seen is always changeful. Even your own thoughts, always changeful. Nobody has to tell you that. This is something that is deeply just experienced. Even your preferences are very changeful. Today you prefer something, 10 years ago you did not prefer that. Today you believe something, 10 years ago you did not believe that. So again, and I'm going to be a little repetitive here to really bring this to our seeing. And this is something that you must experience through. So when you walk away from today's call, this is what I would like you to test and see if this is the case. Your experience of what is seen, not just the world, an experience. What is seen includes what you consider yourself to be right now, which is your personal self. The personal self is objective, it is seen. The body is seen to change. Your thoughts, emotions, preferences, resistances, desires, fears, beliefs, ideas, concepts, personality, moods, even your story changes about yourself. You may not notice this, but one moment you're saying this about yourself, one moment you're saying that about yourself. Everything that you consider to be you is also an object within the seeing, and it is seen to change. So let's go back to the question here for a second, right? When you say my preference, right? Insisting on my preferences, having things my way. See from which point of view, from which reference point this question is asked. This question is coming from the identity of being this body with a name, which has a preference. So I, this body, my preference, a thing that I have, a thing that is me and mine. Something automatically, if it's me and mine, I hold dear. Even your own fears, you hold very dear to yourself without even knowing it. So it's coming from that perspective that I, this body, that is on the spiritual quest, my preference, how to deal with my preference. So you see how this whole thing is just mixed up. And from that point of view, that reference point, when your reference point for yourself, what I mean by reference point is where you are coming from, what you take yourself to be in this moment from where you live. So that reference point for yourself right now is you as this body and these preferences, this bundle of change. So if your own reference point from where you are coming from is very changeful, then you see how that will create a lot of dysfunction. That will create a lot of this reference point itself. When you identify as that which is changeful, now literally this mental identity that is formed on this changeful self is all now just about acquiring and resisting, acquiring and getting rid of, acquiring that which is good, getting rid of which is bad. So it is very caught up in between preference and resistance. So from that reference point, this could perhaps not even be understood. From that reference point, can you get rid of that preference or the emotion the great suffering that comes along with it? From that reference point, can you ever be in acceptance? No, because currently you are taking yourself to be the body with this preference. So whatever preference arises in mind, it is just taken to be me and mine. Whatever fear arises in mind, it is entertained, played with, given a lot of attention to, taken as me and mine. And like last call, I believe we had a conversation about how to just be fearless, right? And I think I forgot who said it, but it was like it's easier said than done. How can you not be fearful? Well, right now we are fearful because fear arises in mind as a thought, emotion, and it's just me and mine, and we greatly identify And so from that reference point of being a body with this fear or this thing, this preference, how can you ever let that go? How can you ever let go of the emotion that comes along with that? So the only solution to this is you must come to see where you are actually coming from. You must create a distinction, a discernment, a separation between the seer and the seen, not taking the seen to be the seer. Because right now, everything is I am this, I am that. I am happy, I am sad, I am angry, I am suffering. This I am, which we said is your direct experience of yourself right now and always. This one, as we said earlier, is not changing. The I am is always the I am. It's your sense of existence, your sense of being. But everything that is coming up in front of this I am is being I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. So that is the mistake. And from this point of I am this, I am that, there is no solution. There's only temporary relief. And then it just identifies with something else, creates another sort of problem. So we must create this separation between seer and seen. And that is the whole point of observation. That is the whole purpose of observing. That is acceptance. On the previous call, we also, last Tuesday's call, we also talked about how acceptance is not something you're doing as a practice. Acceptance is your true nature. Acceptance is your very nature. Allowance, seeing, observing. I am aware. So please see here and now. And you must come to see this. You must dwell in this. Perhaps right now it'll make great sense. Perhaps it won't. Regardless, you have to go to your experience and you have to see, perhaps repeatedly. Why repeatedly? Is because you've practiced your own thought systems and belief systems for you've been just repeating them. So perhaps even understanding this, still the previous sort of belief systems, your reference point is very, very strong. So you must see for yourself and you must investigate your own experience. What is the seer and what is the seen? So just begin right now, and right now, not later. Just begin right now by acknowledging what is seen. Understanding that anything that is seen cannot essentially be what I am. So right now, again, what is seen, what is observed, what there is an awareness of is what you call the world. Your own body. So the body itself is the seen. It is an object of your experience. Previously, it was just me, this body, everything within me, right? Or everything that is subtler than this body is within me, and everything else is outside of me. So you create this rigid boundary. But now you're seeing that even the body is objective, right? It is an object in my seeing. What else is an object of your experience right now? Perhaps your thoughts, which are interpreting this. And notice how automatically you take that thought to be you. The thought that is happening, like, oh, I'm not sure what Sunny's saying. I don't think this is my experience. And you really take that voice to be what I am. Whereas the fact of your experience is that that thought arises in awareness, is seen, and it is seen to also go. When it arises, it has a very intimate quality, right? It's like me talking, me, my voice, yet it passes. And it is seen to pass. And when it passes, you don't go along with it. Your experience of yourself does not change at all. Before it was here, your experience of direct experience of yourself was still me, I, now, here. That is more intimate than any thought. That is more intimate than any feeling. So when the thought arose, your experience of yourself was still me, now, I. Even though you were asleep to that and all that was interesting to you, all that you were just immersed in the object itself, doesn't mean you stop being what you are. If I have a toy right here and I'm deeply into some action figures and I'm playing with the action figures and I'm totally lost in their world, I don't ever, even though I have totally forgotten about my life, my name, even my parents, I still don't stop being what I am, you know? So just in that way, when that thought was here, your experience of yourself, if you were to check in that, in right then, it did not change. It was still that. And then when this thought was no longer here, no part of you went missing. Your direct experience of yourself still remained the same. And the example we always go to is being on that train platform where you're seeing the trains come and go. You are in one place. Only then are you able to see the trains come and go. You have a sense of stability, continuity. Only because you are in one place can you say this train came and then it went. If you were on the train seeing another train come and go, your own experience of what comes and goes and myself will be very, very distorted. Try to see that. Because you, in your direct experience, you have a sense of continuity, stability. So again, see, you must again and again look into your experience. What is seen? With an eye of dispassion, if you are greatly interested in what is seen, which is the case, which has been the case all your life, you will remain immersed in it. You know, in Vedantic teachings, they listed a few prerequisites they used to have for to even give this teaching to anybody. And one of those prerequisites that a person must have is a great dispassion for what is being seen. So we must look at what is seen, at least for the moments that you practice the teaching, with absolute dispassion. So let's say if you sit down and you're just contemplating, or you're literally setting time aside for inquiry, for meditation, whatever it may be, in that period of time, you as a person do not matter. Your goals, your fears, your stuff, your past, your history, where you're going, none of that stuff matters. Because if it does, then you will just remain immersed in that, completely missing the teaching. And perhaps this is a challenge because a lot of that stuff is very, very intriguing, you know? So when I see this thought saying, oh, I don't understand, do you take that to be your reality? Do you take that to be your truth? Are you going to become this one that doesn't understand? Or can you look at that and recognize that this is seen? Right now, I'm not interested in even this concern of I don't understand. The mind says, but how to just be the witness? You know, how do this one can never be the witness? This one can only think about the witness. And the thinking about the witness is already being witnessed without you doing anything. Because you don't ever stop being what you are. You are already witnessing the thought that says, how do I be a witness? Please see this. Even this thought that says, I don't get it, you are already the awareness of that thought, I don't get it. So are you going to stop playing around here in what is seen and just acknowledge your true place? Because from here, this one will always just continue to think about the teaching. Perhaps even building a great sense of identity, great ego, pride on how greatly I understand the teaching. But it will all just be thought, you know? So when this one says how to be the witness, can you wordlessly acknowledge that that itself, without effort, is already witnessed? And another thought says, "Oh, I get it now. Oh, I get it. That that is truly being witnessed." And then don't just get stuck here again. Acknowledge once more that only in the witnessing this is arising. Again, your experience of the seer is just seeing itself. I, seeing. I am aware. So this is the key to this question. When you say, my preference, how can I not have preference in this and that? As long as you are just coming from the reference point of being this person, having a preference, that it's impossible. You will try hard, and you will even mentally pretend, maybe try to see if it's working, but you will just suffer the whole process and then just end up going back to saying, oh, it's not working, forget it. It's beyond me. Or in that moment, when that person is not behaving the way that you want them to, or this situation is not unfolding the way that this mental preference says it should, can you look at that as the scene? Right now, your thought is the seer. You believe this preference to be the seer. I am the seer, and from here I live my life. Can you bring even this preference and even the resistance that arises to how things are unfolding, or perhaps even the resistance to the teaching itself, the pointer? Can you look at even that as an object of your seeing? Sometimes when you have very deep discussions on these calls and something clicks for you, you feel great peace, great relief. And I tell you that to not just get satisfied in that, but instead actually practice what you understood. Because until you practice what you understood, it will just be another mental understanding, which then you will lose because the mind is changeful. And then when you lose it, you'll be like, where did it go? And then then the mind will become fearful. And then you will be like, I'm suffering. So even perhaps the relieved state right now, the mind is satisfied perhaps. Can you not come from that? Can you not be, I am satisfied? Let the satisfaction be there. It is a mental state. It will go, be replaced by something else. Stop alternating between mental states as yourself. This is the depth of the pointer that we're discussing today, the seer and the seen. The seer, it's free of content. There's no content. It's just I am seeing. The I that is seeing, you're trying to find, but you're seeing. Okay, it's not the body because the body is seen. It's not the mind. The mind is seen. It's not the preference. The preference is seen. So even this sense of relief is just another mental state, and it will surely go. So let's, instead of clinging to this and just right now feeling okay, I got this, but then later it's like, oh, I lost this. How many have you have gone through this? In experience, sometimes we feel great. We think, oh, everything is under control and everything is great. That's just the mind feeling. When the mind's preference is met, perhaps the mind gained the little bit of insight it wanted to, or the things went its way, and now it feels good. But literally that same day, later on, the mind could feel so like everything's out of control, and I don't know what I'm doing, and this and that. Rather than this being the subject of our experience, can we bring it into being an object? And it may sound difficult, but it is very, very simple actually, because it is already so. The mental state is already the object of our experience. Can you learn to look at your preferences and resistances as objects rather than them being the subject? Right now, it feels like they are attached to the subject. They are me and mine. So this teaching of the seer and the seen, an important part of inquiry, is can we bring this in and actually see it for what it is, an object within my seeing. And then the preference can be there. So if we're circling back to this question, the preference can be there and it is seen as an object, not identified with. Not getting rid of the preference, but it is simply allowed to be if it needs to be, and not giving it any sense of myself. And then things could go in the way of the preference, and then the mind is satisfied. Teaching is easy to practice. But things could not go in the way of the preference, and mind reacts. Mind is stressed out. In that moment, can you see even this stressed out state, all the thoughts, all the intense fear and emotion as an object? If you do, you'll be free of it. You will never, ever again suffer any emotion, any thought. Is that too bold of a claim? You will experience the angriness of anger. You will experience the sadness of sadness, but you will not suffer it. Because sometimes people say, right, oh, but are you just becoming a zombie? You're not going to feel. And I turn it right back around to and truthfully state that if anything, right now, you're just avoiding things. You're just running away from things. You're trying to negate your experience, clinging to half and rejecting the other half. Whereas this is a position of total allowance, feeling the relief of relief, feeling the pain of pain, and not suffering either, not creating either into a problem. Right now, when things are going well in your life and even your mind feels good, you still make that into a problem. You know, of like we have a tendency of like, okay, when am I going to lose this? Or the mind's fearing it's like when is the next thing that's going to go wrong? So we even make that into a problem, and we obviously make the thing we consider negative, right, into a problem. So right now everything is just a problem, and that's why we often say it's like you can put this mind in a what it would consider a paradise, it would still find a way to suffer it. Something in it will suffer. Yet, once you start to acknowledge your true position as the witness and seeing the scene as the scene, creating a distance between you and your mind and emotion and body, then you will not suffer the activity of the person. If we are just to take it one step subtler, the suffering itself, the sufferer itself, is it not seen? So for perhaps some, now we've gone too subtle and totally you've checked out. Rest your interpretation for a little bit. It's okay. You don't have to understand. But and just listen. Okay? Don't try to make anything happen or to try to grasp. Just listen. But see, that which suffers, is it not also observed? Is it not also just what is suffering, right? What is it? It's just another bundle of thoughts and emotions, beliefs, perceptions, all objects. So in truth, the I am, the witness, is not suffering anything. In it, the mind is suffering the mind. This bundle of thoughts suffer this one. This bundle of thoughts suffer this emotion, this circumstance, or their idea of this circumstance. Suffering is entirely mental, and you are its witness. You could be very blissed out, or you could be suffering. Your experience of yourself will not change. It will still be I, here, now, me. So we must create this distance, and that is what this teaching is about. And if this pointer has resonated with you, take it all the way. Continue, like, don't just, even if there's a great understanding of it right now, you must actually prove this in your experience. See again and again that all my activities, everything that I actually believe to be what I am, everything that I'm clinging to is an object. This is not rejecting objects, right? This is not rejecting the personal self. It is simply adjusting your position. It is, or acknowledging what your actual position in all this is. Because right now you believe yourself to be an object with an awareness. And so this, call it practice, is shifting that paradigm. And with that as that paradigm shifts, all that you suffer, you can no longer suffer it, because your own identification with the sufferer, which is mind, is being loosened up. And everybody, there's like a deep, okay, how can I grow in this faster? How can I see this faster? Well, your life will greatly help you, your own personal situations, circumstances, and challenges. So this question in particular, circling back, you know, when people don't perhaps treat you the way you want to be treated, or when things don't unfold the way you want, when you're in the midst of challenge and difficulty, can you employ this then? Can you see this then? Or is it, do you value more being, trying to prove yourself right, or trying to gain or avoid losing something in that moment, circumstantially, personally? If that is more important to you, then you will continue to be immersed in the personal self as the personal self. But in the greatest challenges of your personal life, can you employ this and see this? Because then it will become very, very clear. Because the mind itself, what wants you to just keep, oh yeah, practice, practice, practice. We'll get it one day. And although yes, consistency is ultimately sort of consistency and earnestness are important for this, but at the same time, don't buy into just the always delaying seeing this clearly. Through this, your personal self, your thought and emotion, along with your actual circumstantial experience, also goes through a great shifting from dysfunction, disharmony to order, harmony. You see, the natural byproduct of contracting yourself into an objective identity and then clinging and resisting is suffering. And a natural byproduct of clearing that up, acknowledging your true position as the seer, and living in flow, free of clinging or resistance, free of defining yourself in a box, is just expansiveness, a sense of, you can call it happiness, not a mental sort of happiness, but happiness.